Hi. In this session, total presentation 6. First presentation. Dear all well. No. Dear Kadah. Dear Kadah, are you ready?
Yeah. Hello, Professor. I am
okay,
here.
Hello. You can start.
Thank you. Now I'm sharing my presentation.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nezir Kadah, and I am a PhD student at Adana Alparslan Turkish Science and Technology University. My supervisor is Professor Necdet Sidra Özbek. I am glad to attend the 4th International Symposium on Multidisciplinary Studies and Innovative Technologies. Today, I will talk about our last research, which is entitled Model Investigation of Nonlinear Dynamical Systems by Sparse Identification. I think most of scientists are interested in data-driven modeling approaches. Indeed, these data-driven approaches have been developing rapidly in recent times. Nowadays, with the effect of rapidly developing technology, data modeling approach is becoming more popular. The data-driven modeling approach could help us directly identify models from data. Also, the behavior of the systems can be estimated from data-driven methods. Today, I will tell you about a method that constitutes the main idea of our paper and has been popular in recent years. As you know, dynamical systems are represented in two forms. The first one, continuous, and second one is discrete dynamical systems. In our study, we use the Euler-step method for systems to convert from continuous to discrete. We also assumed that it had two different conditions for our measurements. The first one is the one-state measurements, and the second one is the full-state measurement. Consider we have a measurement of just X or one state. We must understand the behavior of system dynamics to represent with a model. For this, we can use some methods like time delay embedding theorem. For this method, firstly, we must create a Hankel matrix, which is H. The time delay embedding method allows us reconstructing data of dynamic systems. With this method, one-dimensional data set is configured to be multidimensional. And then we take SVD, singular value decomposition of Hankel matrix to investigate system dynamics. because we don't have full state measurements, we have only one state. We don't have the measurement of other states of system. The SVD of Hankel matrix gives a set of eigendelay coordinates. That are topologically equivalent to x, y, and z coordinates. You can see in this picture. But the main idea is our paper, the sparse identification of nonlinear dynamics, aka SINDY, which is based on the sparse regression techniques to identify the nonlinear systems. The SINDY algorithm makes it possible for us to identify sparse and interpretable models from data. This is extremely useful since we could analyze the meaning of the models we identified. The basic idea is to perform a least square to find xi and then kill all the small terms with a threshold. Then we do another least squares onto the remaining coefficient and kill the small ones or ignore, and repeat until it converges. In practice, there are tons of algorithms to get sparse X, taught like lasso, elastic net, sequential least squares, or etc. You can see in schema of SINDY is present. In sparse identification, the main goal to find numerical parameters or coefficients for dynamic. If we talk about details or steps of SINDY, as you see, we collect measurement data and then we create a time matrix and approximate derivative matrix from this data, and then build up feature libraries. This library contains linear or nonlinear terms. Then perform sparse promoted regression, and finally solve for sparse regression method that select a few terms from the library to represent our dynamics. These terms is basically dominant ones. Let's consider the Rösler attractor system. Firstly, we collect data from the system and then create time and derivative metrics. Secondly, we must build up library metrics. Creating this library is actually very challenging because it's depending on designer choice and dynamics of the unknown systems. Because we don't have any systems, we use data. We want to identify the model to represent this data. Using some methods like SVD or DMD, the designer can analyze the system trajectories or dynamics and then create this library matrix actually. Therefore, a library of possible functions, they may consist of polynomial terms, linear terms, trigonometric functions, or other nonlinear functions. You can see in here one example, library of candidate functions. Thirdly, we must eliminate non-dominant terms because our data vector, in other words, the effect of these terms is mostly neglected because their effect is very small, but a few terms is dominant for our systems or for our model. We actually wanted the coefficient vector that is sparse as possible. This means we want the elements of the coefficient vectors is mostly zero. This is actually the desired regression method, zero norm, because that gives us a truly sparse solution. But using convex optimization, we cannot find the minimum as zero norm solution. So instead of a zero, we can use L1 norm. Actually, the system function is separated into sparse functions using the sparse regression method. In our paper, we use a lasso regression method because the lasso implements an L1 regularization term that can produce sparse coefficients, and L1 norm forces particular elements to be exactly zero. Now you can see the basic schema of SINDY algorithm in this picture. We have an unknown system, the black box systems, and we collect data, measured X, state, and then create data matrix and derivative of this matrix, and then construct a library. We applied some sparse regression method. Finally, we identified systems. In our paper, we used two systems for Cindy algorithm. In first representation, you can see the Rosler attractor systems, and the active terms are given in the figures. In the second presentation, there are results for the Lotka-Volterra systems. For Rosler attractor systems, 3 different regression methods based on the least square we were used for this first application. However, for the second one, we used a lasso regression method to find a dominant coefficient, because we add some noise to this application, and lasso regression is most robust according to minimum norm least squares of Black/, or more Monroe-Penrose pseudo-inverse method. The conclusions of our paper, the dominance of the systems and time delay embedding theory coordinates or of our systems we approve, and then the model of the systems obtained from the collected measurement data with the Cindy method. But the performance of the model we checked according to the observed systems, because in experimental studies, model testing will be done by working with real-time data. This paper is a fundamental study of our research. However, we are going to study a number of issues such sparse identification for maybe time varying systems or disturbance, sparse identification for constraints or disturbance, non-parametric identification with Cindy, maybe sparse identification of correct data, or adaptive Cindy algorithm. It's basic of this is a representation of our study. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a question, I'm listening to you.
Thank you for presentation.
Thank you so much, Professor Turgut.
Is there any question? Okay. Next presentation is per paper ID 5, their elevation.
Yes, elevation.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
You can start.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Oluwaseun Priscilla Olawale, a PhD student at Nearest University, Nicosia, Cyprus, and I'm presenting on individual eye gaze prediction with the effect of image enhancement using deep neural networks. Here is our agenda. First, take you through the abstract, introduction, aims and objectives of this research, the main topic, which is gaze, application areas of gaze tracking, the role of image enhancement, and briefly about literature review, the methodology we employed, the results we obtained, and conclusion and future work. So many researchers are interested in this topic as regards the prediction of gaze, the prediction of individual gaze, majorly because artificial intelligence is involved, and this really makes it interesting. So in our research work, we employed MP2 data gaze sets, categorizing individual gaze into 4 categories, predicting if they are looking to the left, to the right, to the neutral view, which is termed as center focus, and then to the upward view. First of all, we organized the original images, trained and validated them, after which we applied image enhancements on them. And keywords include gaze detection, gaze direction, individual eyes, image enhancement, and deep learning. One of those things humans actually ponder on is if actually individual gaze can be predicted. But then, yes, this is actually very possible because one, our eyes play a very important role when it comes to focusing on something, as it's for we as humans, it interprets our physical environment to the brain, and most times the direction in which an individual is looking at actually depends on the individual's focus. The aim of this research is to predict the direction in which an individual is focusing on first, and then to determine the accuracy of the gaze. That is, first of all, with the original image, then after applying image enhancements to also determine the accuracy of the enhanced image, and then lastly is to compare the results of both the original image and the enhanced image. The objectives, we were able to apply image enhancements with the brightness technique, and then we came up with a convolutional neural networks model. And then lastly, we actually made use of Python programming to train and validate the CNN model. Gaze. Eye tracking can also be referred to as oculography, which is literally the point of gaze of an individual. It determines the direction in which an individual is focusing on, and we usually use it to answer the question, where are you looking at, where an individual is looking at, and in some other cases, it can further be used to predict an individual's next point of action. That's just simply what gaze is. It can be applied in medicine, psychology, 3D gaming, marketing, business, virtual reality, computer vision, and even robotics. But for our research work, we concluded on 3 major areas where gaze can actually be applied. First of all is in security, to monitor individual abnormal behavior in situations where an individual may intend to cause harm or chaos in an environment such as airports, the hospitals, school, highways, and or malls. And then the second category is interrogation, to determine actually the level of accuracy of statements made by individuals being suspected, which may be under custody of the police, the CIA, or the FBI, and generally in human behavior to predict an individual's emotion, thoughts, future activity, like I mentioned before. And in hospitals, most times when doctors are carrying out diagnosis, most times they tend to go through the eyes. Now, the role of image enhancement. Image enhancement was actually chosen so as to obtain better readability from the image that is being used at the moment, so as to get better information, because the images we used at first were not so clear. So we had to employ image enhancement. Here's a literature review of what some previous authors have done, but I'd like to talk about the third one, Demilila et al. 2018. He applied DCT, discrete cosine transform, and backpropagation neural networks in order to categorize gaze as to if an individual is looking to the left or right directions. And then from Jerry Lamb and Ismsit 2008, where he actually applied the CNN. He applied the CNN, but this time they didn't make use of any image pre-processing or any image processing techniques at all. Now, this is our methodology for the flowchart. First of all, we acquire the image and then apply image pre-processing. The technique we use for the image pre-processing is the resizing of the original image, and then we applied image processing this time around the image enhancement, and then machine learning, deep learning, and in this case we chose the convolutional neural networks. which in turn carries out the learning for prediction and gives us our final results. Now, this is our CNN model. The first image represents the original image that goes through a series of convolutions before it's able to predict if the individual is looking to the center, to the left, to right, or facing upwards. And then the second image, which is beneath the original image, is the enhanced version of the original image that serves as input and then goes through the convolutions in order to give us the output that we require. For the image preprocessing, and for the image processing, after resizing, we applied image enhancement. You can see that the first image is not so clear, while the second image, that's the enhanced image, is actually clear. So this is the results we obtained after processing the images. And then now, without the effect of image enhancement, the model starts to stabilize at a region of 71%, and then after several trainings, the model can actually start making the predictions at 80% during the training. This is the result we obtained without the effect of image enhancement. And then now to the results with effect of image enhancement. The model actually started stabilizing at 75%, and then they can make actual predictions at 80%. The difference in stabilization is 4%, and difference in best model validation is 3%. In conclusion, we were actually able to prove that yes, image enhancement proved its purpose by providing better interpretation of the images that we use, which brought about better prediction. And in our future work, we'll be combining other image processing techniques to see which techniques actually does better, and probably with other deep learning algorithms. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any question? Okay. Next presentation. Dear Nazik Jamal Abdulhamid.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, my name is Nazik Jamal Abdulhamid. I am assistant lecturer in architectural department at Salahuddin University. We made this research with my colleague Zainab Qasim, which is with me in the same department. Our lecture's title is The Impact of Physical Work Environment on the Employee Job Satisfaction in Private Office Type, the Case of ERBIL City. Changing the physical work environment as an aid to public and private organizational transformation is supported by many researchers. They established the notion behind workspace disciplines via offering a modest and discrete method to workplace design. So the core proposal of this research is to urge for the workplace environment to be free of clutter, which can hold the organization capability to become accustomed and reach out rapidly to market forces. The objective of this research is to detect the physical work atmosphere factor, which are having a direct and indirect influence upon the employee job gratification and of employee performance, consequently finding the connection between them. Multiple physical work environment factors have been conducted whilst taking in consideration all the office type. Finally, other factors include first ambient factor, second noise and privacy factor, and finally design-related factor, each with various measurements. Physical work environment. The working environment comprises of two key measurements such as work and setting. Work incorporates all the various attributes of the job, such as the way career is carried out and accomplished, connecting the earned exercise, training, control on way, physics work, related exercise, and a sense of accomplishment from work. Numerous research papers have concentrated on the inherent perspective to the work fulfillment, have uncovered that there is a positive connection between the work environment and the principal perspective of the job satisfaction. In addition, they depicted the second measurement of job satisfaction recognized as setting, which comprised of the physical work environment and the social working condition. Armstrong gave a simple definition for the job satisfaction. He defined that it is the attitude and the feeling people have about their work, insisting that the hint whether an employee is satisfied or dissatisfied depends solely on his outlook toward his job. An employee who feels and reflects positively toward his job, then it is considered as he is satisfied with his job, and vice versa. So job satisfaction means a total sensation which an employee seeks to get from his work, administrator, colleagues, and organization. For the relationships between the physical work environment and the job satisfaction, researchers express that within the working environment, it is frequently noted that the employees who are more content with the physical work environment are more likely to produce way better work results. So we collect here all the physical work environment factors from the previous research, like temperature, ventilation, lighting, noise, privacy, workstation design, furniture comfort, workspace design, communication, working condition as physical design, noise from equipment, air conditioning, and existing of windows. The application. This research was implemented in 11 offices with 144 employee private company in ERBIL city, Kurdistan region of Iraq. Questionnaires were pre-tested prior to pilot exercise, which include 58 questions and sub-questions from a survey concerning well-being, like health, psychosocial work environment, and physical environment of the office. Perception of the physical environment was separated into three domains comprising of the variables measured by the distinctive item. Results show the impact of those factors with the most significant p-value on the employee job performance. Here we give a simple definition about each type office. We have 5 types: cell office, shared room, shared office, open plan landscape office, flex office, can be office. And we give a simple plan for each type. This is the cell office, and plan for the shared room office, and open plan landscape office, flex office, and finally can be office. I will give you one example. For each definition, we divided to the architectural feature and functional features. We can see here for architectural features, in this plan, we can see the personal room is surrounding with the 4 walls, and it have its access to own window. For the functional features, the most work function, it will be facilitated in the room, and the private meeting also will be in the same room. So we have 5 types of office, and the physical work environment factor, we have 3 factors: ambient factor, noise and privacy, and design related factor. Each factor will divide it into sub-factor. We have 3 sub-factors for ambient factor, like temperature, ventilation, lighting condition, and 2 for the noise and privacy, which is noise and privacy. And finally, we have design related factor, was subdivided to 4 factors: workstation design, furniture comfort, workspace design, and office design. We use a Likert scale. So the scale utilized have 4 or 5 categorized, such as the scale speak to ordinal scale estimation. They were dichotomized before the investigation into one category. For the 4 scale item, this was done by the combining the 2 original inferior category into one, while the remaining 2 categories give us a better outcome. For the 5 scale outcome, the division was made by the 2 inferior outcome collapsed into one, and the 3 remaining give a better outcome. In addition to the outcome defining from the individual item, we formed 3 combination scale as a sum of the number of items with inferior outcome for the ambient factor, noise, privacy, and the design-related factor. This sum has the possible range. I will explain this number for the next slide. We can see here, as we said, the physical work environment factor divided to 3 main factors, and each factor divided to sub-factor. We see here that we have 9 questions about the ambient factor, so the range will be from the 0 to 9. And for the noise privacy, we have 12 questions, so the range will be from 0 to 12, and for the design-related factor, the range will be from 0 to 20. So we have 41 questions. Data analysis and discussion of finding. If we started with the ambient factor, we can see for the temperature, the p-value as 0.01, it's the most significant for the question, how warm is it, with 28.5% in the shared office. And for the, for the ventilation, we have the most significant factor, 0.01, for the question ventilation comfort with 19.4 in the landscape office. And finally, for this ambient factor, we have lighting condition with the most significant 0.04 for the glare from the daylight with the 26.4% in the shared office. For the noise and privacy, we can see we have multiple p-value, and the most significant is the 0.00, which is repeated twice for both the voice privacy and telephone privacy at your workstation with 22.9 and 25% both in the shared office. And for the privacy, we have 0.00 also with the question visual privacy at your workstation with 23.6% in the shared office. For the last main factor, which is design-related factor, we have a workstation design with the p-value most significant with 0.01 for the space at your workstation for your work material with the 25.7% in share room. We can see here, it's obvious there is no significant p-value in the furniture comfort, but with the non-significant, which is 0.09 in the sitting comfort chair with the 33.3% in the shared room. And for the workspace design, we see that we have multiple sub-related factor with the p-value, and which is 0.01 for the question satisfy ability to keep a good relation with the 28.5% in share room. And for the last sub factor for the design-related factor was office design, and with the most significant p-value 0.0 with the question with the general physical work environment with 29.9% in shared office. In this table, we take the average satisfaction value for each factor per each office type. If we start with the ambient factor, we can see that the temperature have the highest impact in all office type. And in the noise and privacy, we can see that the highest percentage is recorded in shared room office, and the lowest will be in the Canby and Flex office. And for the design-related factor, we can see that the furniture comfort has a highest impact in all office type compared with the other factors. We have 64.4%. We will talk about this number in the next slide. For the conclusion of our research, from the results made, it's obvious that the many factors have an effect on the employee work fulfillment and the productivity. The design-related factors have greatest impact on employee performance and job job satisfaction with an average recorded rate of 64.4%, being the highest among other factors, with its most effective sub-factor, which is furniture comfort. It was also obvious from the result that the most dominant office type within this research and in private organization in ERBIL city was shared room office. Thanks for your attention. If you have any question, I will answer with pleasure.
Thank you for presentation.
Thank you.
Is there a question? Okay. Next presentation. Dear Abdurrahman,
Yes, sir.
are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am ready.
Okay, you can start.
In the name of Allah, good afternoon. Greetings from Kabul, Afghanistan. I will be presenting this research on optimizing intersection performance using Sidra program on Baraki intersection, Kabul, Afghanistan. Let me share the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Can you see the PowerPoint, sir?
Yes, no problem.
Well, this presentation will include outline, which is introduction, highlight the problem, purpose of the study, literature review, methodology, result and discussion, plus conclusion. Introduction. Kabul is the capital city of Afghanistan. It has about 4,400 kilometers square area and 21 districts. Kabul with a population of 4,222,000 and an average population growth rate of 2.5. Traffic congestion is one of the most prominent problem in developing countries around the world. There are some major causes of this problem. The sudden growth in private vehicles ownership can be considered as one of the leading contributors to the congestion problem. This study will evaluate. Analyze Baraki intersection, one of the most crowded junctions in Kabul city's traffic system, to investigate various factors that cause traffic congestions and their effects of traffic flow. This study attempts to propose potential solution to the existing problem in Baraki intersection. And the highlight of the problem, several problems such as delays, fuel consumption, fuel cost, and hazardous emission can be created by a high volume of traffic and congestions, with a population of over 4 million people, most of which rely on private transportation, and a total of 1,224,000 registered cars estimated for 2010 by United Nations Regional Information Network. Congestion has created leading problems in Kabul, Afghanistan. This study concentrates on minimizing traffic congestion in Baraki intersection. The entire data have been gathered from the site in the peak hours, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 a.m. And 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. using volumetric traffic count method, which is a manual method. The data will be obtained by individuals on site. The suggestion of alternative for traffic congestions includes signal control of underground of the junction due to traffic daily reduction of the amount of fuel, carbon dioxide, and so forth. In general, these tasks will perform during this study, an increase in level of service of the road, increasing the capacity, decreasing the congestion by lowering vehicle delay, fuel consumption reduction, and decreasing the carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxide production reduction. And the literature review, uh, we can say the transportation deal with the movement of materials, a human movement called passenger, and the movement of materials and products are called goods transport. Transportation population are closely interdependent as the population grew up in urban areas and expected to rise to 66% by 2050. It means more transportation demand will be needed, such as more trips and movement and more demand will cause more congestion. Thus, there should be a proper plan to manage and transportation to reduce the congestion. Function of transportation. According to Kadiali 2016, functions of transportation can be studied under the following categories. Transportation helps within the assembly of raw material and distribution of finished merchandise and repair from the place of production to the place wherever they are to be consumed. Transportation helps every national resources in every country on the production of those goods that their resource are best suited. Thus, it will cause the minimum wastage of resources and the raw material. Transportation has helped in development of agriculture also. The business of agricultural products has grown to such a large extent only to do the efficient means of transport. Transportation helps the growth of industries by making available various factors of production. Transportation has helped the discovery of new lands and growth of cities and urban areas. In the methodology section, we can say that the location of this study is in the 4th district of Kabul city, Afghanistan. It's one of the most crowded places in the Kabul with frequent congestions in peak hour. Peak hours I mentioned before. At present, a huge volume of traffic commutes through this intersection, which has caused congestion and a declined level of service. Solving this problem will significantly increase the level of service and will ease off the pressure from the adjacent intersection. This study will be conducted in Kabul city and data will be gathered from Baraki intersection. Careful consideration will be selected to this junction as it's quite accessible and serves as a vital junction in the transportation network of Kabul city since most governmental offices are located in the north and east side of it and residential areas are located in the south and west side of the intersection. Sidra intersection software. We can say that the Sidra stands for Signalized and Unsignalized Intersection Design and Research Aid. Sidra is engineering software used to evaluate, analyze intersection level of surveys, operation and planning. It also estimates the environmental impact, greenhouse gas emissions, fuel consumptions, and the cost of traffic congestion as well. This is the procedure how we can input the data into the Sidra software. In this part, we can say that there are approaches are mentioned here: south, north, east, and west. Here we can mention the road name, median, the distance which is between two roads. Here we can specify the lanes for the Sidra intersection, and here we can specify the movement direction. In the next section, we upload the data that we have gathered from the site versus the peak flow factor, vehicle occupancy, and growth rate. In the result and discussion, this part covers the data presentation result for each category, proper presentation using tables, results obtained during the peak hours, as well as the category of the vehicle will be entered into software, as shown in the next slide. This table shows that how much cars came from Baraki and goes to, they have gone on arm A and as we mentioned that the peak hour is from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Here we recorded the data for every 15 minutes. For example, here we can see that 8 till 8:15. It means in 15 minutes, 120 car, 68 taxi, 7 light good vehicle, and 6 heavy good vehicle, 15 bus, 15 minibus. A total passes through this intersection from Baraki to Devon in 15 minutes. Same as the procedure for the other uh, data or for the other tables, or the same procedure. Result of data. Result of data 2020. The table shows that the level of service for signalized intersection in 2020 is NF, which is the worst kind of level of service. There might be a question that what is level of service? We can say that the level of service is a mechanism used to determine how well a transportation facility is operating from a traveler's perspective. Furthermore, signalized intersection for 2020 will create an average of 446.9 seconds delay in the morning and an average of 503.9 seconds delay in the evening. As shown in the table, signalized intersection 2020, the level of service for south, east, north, and west are all F, which is the worst one. This is a huge delay time, which poses a number of serious problems for the mobility of people and goods to emission of an alarming rate of greenhouse. This chart presents the delay and emission of hazardous gases of both peak hours of the intersection for AM and PM. As we can see in the table that 446.9 seconds delay can be seen in the AM, and about 503.9 seconds delay can be created in the evening because of low level of service and the lack of advanced equipments, and about 221.1 kg of carbon dioxide can be produced because while these cars are getting stuck in the intersection, they produce some hazardous gases, for example, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrate of carbon, and nitrogen oxide. These are all at alarming rate. About 88.1 liter of fuel can be consumed in the AM, and about 100.4 liter can be consumed in the evening, because all cars which are stuck in the in the current intersection, there is a huge time delay, as I mentioned before. This much fuel can be consumed, and a QE of 120 can be made in the morning and 136.7 in the evening. Analysis of underpass for 2020. As can be seen in the obtained chart for the Sidra program, the total delay for underpass for 2020 is 7.3 seconds. This shows a 98.55% of decrease in the delay time. As seen in the table, about 7.3 seconds can be made in the peak hours. 11.2 kg of carbon dioxide can be produced by the cars which are stuck there in the peak hours, which is a which is a very huge increment in these parameters compared to the intersection 2020. Same as the other parameters as well, and about 4.5 liter of fuel can be consumed. Moreover, a substantial decrease in gases emission can also be seen for the underpass. Level of service for underpass for 2020 has estimated that it's A, because from all sides it is A, from south, east, north, and west. Level of survey presents level of survey which is A, that presents the very great condition for the road, and F represents the worst one. Analysis of underpass for 2030. To determine that the condition will not get worse in future, underpass has been analyzed for the year 2030 as well. As we can see in the table that about 7.3 seconds of delay can be made in the peak hours, and about 22.2 kg of carbon dioxide can be produced by the cars which are stacked there, and about 1.6 kg of carbon monoxide. All these gases emissions are only for 1 hour. and about 8.9 liter of fuel can be consumed in the peak hours. The obtained results show a very small difference in the year 2020, which shown in chart below. Level of service for 2030 has also been estimated that it's A as well. In all direction, level of survey is A, which shows that the condition will not get worse for the next 10 years as well. Suggestion. This paper suggests building an underpass from north to south direction. Building an underpass will improve the level of surveys to A and decrease the gas emission and fuel consumptions to a notable amount. To ensure that the condition will not deteriorate in future, the data for underpass is also analyzed for 2030. The obtained results show a very small increment in considered parameters. For example, in the current intersection, we have about 446.9 seconds delay in the morning and 503.9 seconds in the evening. But by constructing an underpass from north to south, it will decrease to 7.3 seconds, which is a very great achievement for the customers, for the consumers of the intersection. As well as the next parameters also has been decreased by constructing an underpass from north to south direction. In conclusion, the research has been conducted at Baraki intersection in Kabul city, Afghanistan. After a true evaluation using Sidra intersection software, it was concluded that currently the level of service in the intersection is on F category. The average of 503 seconds delay in the evening peak hours and about 445.9 seconds in morning peak hours. This shows a crowded intersection with a low level of service and high hazardous emissions. To solve the mentioned problem, decrease the delay and decrease hazardous emission, this study suggests building an underpass from north to south direction. Building an underpass will decrease by about 98.55% of time delay, 95.5% of carbon dioxide emission, and 95.5% of fuel consumption, and 100% of QE, 93.38% of carbon monoxide emission, 96.42% of hydrate of carbon, and 93.70% of nitrogen oxide. The level of service after building an underpass was measured to be in category A. Underpass performance was evaluated for the year 2030. The result indicated a very marginal difference from the year 2020. This means that the condition will not get worse for the next 10 years as well. The obtained results are shown in a tabulated format. As I mentioned before, as a text. Thank you. If you have any question, you can ask us. Thank you, Mr. Turgut.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question?
Thank you,
Okay. Next presentation, dear Norapon.
Yes, I'm here.
Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. So let me share my slide.
You can start.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, let me begin. Okay, good afternoon to everyone. I feel really impressed to come today. So now I would like to present my topic, that is the conceptual of plasma jet system for the telomere expansion. And my name is Nonlinear Vichiansarn. I am from Thailand, and I am a PhD student from Industrial Engineering major at Chiang Mai University. And also my co-advisor is Dr. Khomkit Leskun, and this work is collaborated with Dr. Poti Chapaisan. So my presentation will be separated into the 6 topics of this, following by this agenda. So I think everybody in this world, not only in this section, doesn't want to get older. Why don't we want to get older? Because this will be painful to us all. Nobody can escape from this, even though many scientists found many evidence from ancient who try to expand their life getting longer, but no one can. However, in the 2009, Anti-aging become a topic of interest again since the exploration of telomere by Blackburn and her team. And the telomere, what is the telomere? The telomere is the end of the chromosome tail, which work like a cover on the shoelace for sending the signal to the cell division on this chromosome. And discovery could lead us to the beginning of the exploration of anti-aging cell. But the problem is, when the cell gets more division, this telomere will get shorter. But however, the Blackburn and her team found that by inducing telomerase enzyme, the remaining of telomerase, telomere range shorten the DNA line. At the present, there are several kinds of research discussing on a method how to induce telomere enzyme. In one of the notable research, RS synthesis happened in the cell activity, and the partial of them induce telomere enzyme through nitric oxide. But however, while nitric oxide is active, another ROS was produced, and this process lead to the shortening and eventually damage of DNA line. I will explain this again on the review section. And the methodology of this research is derived to introduce 3 steps present on this picture. And the first step is data collection and using the console simulation to predict the concentration of the ROS and NS species. And next one is step 2. I will use the parameter of this step to use to the next step and build the real system of plasma machine and using plasma machine to discharge on the fibroblast cell. And the third step is the final maximize plasma parameter will be treated on the cell. And the treat cell will be tested for the telomere length, mitochondrial respiration, and the cellular ROS level in order of to understand the cell phenomena with the assumption of telomere expansion through the plasma treatment. Okay, in the previous section, I explained that a telomere can define as a tail of the chromosome, which is related to the synthesis process of the cells shown in like this picture. And the Blackburn and her team discovered that from the study of the single cell, for example, protozoa, which is like a few substance cover on the tail of the chromosome, like a hair structure or tetrahymena. It is worth nothing because this lay a foundation of the understand of DNA structure. They found that the end of the protozoa tail has the replication on DNA code about 50 times. And this code of the telomere is identified as a TTGGAA, TTAGGG, which send a signal to generate cell mitosis. However, this replication process results in the shortening of telomere and of the cell aging. As the increasing of the telomere length has direct effect to the cellular aging, several scientists have been trying to explore the possibility to define cell aging through the chromosome multiplication. The relation between telomere length and senescence is identified as the defective of the telomere length enzyme. But however, the lack of the telomere length enzyme causes stem cell to malfunction and eventually lead to the accelerated process to the senescence state. That's why we get older. According to the study by the Blackburn, they are adding the nucleotide in the shortening telomere would increase telomere enzyme. What happened? So we can resolve that a telomere length is get longer. So that's why a telomere length is the important enzyme to make the telomere get longer. Like this, as I told you before, the nitric oxide is an important species that allows cell to function and regularly as a vasodilation, regulate blood flow, improve glucose uptake, and make a mitochondrial biogenesis work normally. But also nitric oxide is also classified as a ROS species or reactive oxygen species group, which may react to the other chemical in cell activity. Like for example, it can induce the it can induce the ROS group like superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, and hydroxyl group. This can cause the damage and create the DNA function. So the nitric oxide is a key to increase telomere enzyme by the redox balance in cell by ROS activity would allow nitric oxide concentration to reduce the superoxide concentration. However, excessive ROS activity would induce the nitric oxide reaction to be the peroxynitride. This phenomena lead to the decline of telomere length. Optimize redox balance by nitric oxide and another ROS group will increase telomere length and lead to the anti-cellular aging. So in this study, two possible solutions are proposed. The first is chemical reaction, and the second is the physical process by the plasma discharge. So what is the plasma discharge? Plasma is the first state of the matter by the collision of electron can create two mechanisms like ionization and excitation. But how plasma can be generated? And for the example of this picture, if we input energy to the solid state, its bonding will be destroyed and transformed to the liquid state. Similar like a solid, liquid and gas also can destroy bonding by change state too. So the liquid and become gas, and gas become the plasma. And cold plasma has been developed for the medical of living use for a few years. The differential of thermal plasma and non-thermal plasma it depends on the total temperature, and the maximum temperature is not over than 40 degrees Celsius. At present, the developing is now on the interested possibility in the vivo. In basis functional in plasma is the dissemination of the energy radiation, and this radiation induce the chemical intensity such as electron, ion, and molecule. This mechanism lead to the generate two group of species, that is RS group and NS group. So how important of the plasma nitric oxide? The nitric oxide, as I told before, can apply in the many applications. From this study, the cell mechanism, nitric oxide can be like a creator for induced telomerase inside to remain telomere length or destroy and damage and the DNA and telomere line directly, like this picture. Oh, sorry. Like this picture, as I showed you before. And by the controlling the optimal concentration of nitric oxide are necessary to study and continuous to improvement. At present, generating nitric oxide can be used to chemical and physical process, and plasma is one of the popular nitric oxide generated in the physical process because it's not damaging to the sample, and it has a faster process, low cost, and high precision. So if we are looking at this table, we can see that the RF discharge atmospheric pressure plasma jet is the lowest cost and can produce the pure nitric oxide with a mix 99% of argon gas and 1% of air. Nevertheless, short plasma treatment time low plasma does have stimulating effect, and but long plasma treatment time high plasma does induce later effect. For example, cell death by apoptosis stop of the purification, DNA damage, and cell cycle arrest. This research is focused on the possibility to develop plasma nitric oxide technology in fair cost and redox balance nitric oxide and ROS to optimize telomerase enzyme for increasing telomere length. But if we focusing on the level of cell, the telomere can damage and impact at the senescence and associate phenotype where the mitochondria in this shown in this picture. The mitochondria are main generator of ROS within the cell. Our group have previously shown that activation of DDR can induce the mitochondria ROS generation, and the signaling pathway involving ATMP21 signal, and the mechanism target is rapamycin TOR. We report that the chain of mitochondria site and ROS production will depend on PGC1 beta and depend mitochondria biogenesis. In contrast, it has been documented that the short telomere signal and active the P53, which replace the PGC1 alpha and PGC1 beta predator. In the easier explanation, if the mitochondria have induced, it will induce the P55 signal, and it can make the RS species increasing in the cell. That's why the telomere length can be destroyed. Okay. So another species that have very important for the DNA damage is hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is a kind of RS group which usually used for the medical field as a sterilization, purification, apoptosis test. Hydrogen peroxide is the next to the superoxide anion and hydroxyl radical. Plus, hydrogen peroxide is no more considered as an unwanted toxic byproduct, but play as an important role in the control of the vital cellular processes. There had a report that the concentration which affect to cell only 5 micromolar can make cell killing for 5%. That could more effective for 24 hours, as shown in this graph. So in this study is proposed to the conceptual design of the plasma discharge system on cell with telomere expansion by RNS productivity, especially the nitric oxide is the important species for induce the most important enzyme as the telomerase enzyme. With this special enzyme can make the end of the chromosome tail get longer, which means to get younger and for the longer living. This study also was studied based on two contributions. First is to perform a plasma jet model by simulate plasma parameter on simulation program before building plasma system for generate nitric oxide radical and ROS radical. The secondary to investigate the mechanism and processes of plasma to the gene sense. This is the finished work that I just finished before. It is a plasma simulation by chromosome multiphysics. I try to make the simulate to predict the concentration of nitric oxide and ROS group, and using this data to make the real system for plasma machine and discharge on cell. So if you have any question or anything to ask, you can ask me and I'm listening. But if we finish this section, you can contact me by the email. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation. Okay, next presentation. Paper ID 98. This will presentation by video. Okay.
Hello, my name is Noha Walid Al-Tikriti, Advisor Assist Prof. Dr. Abdullahi Abdu Ibrahim. I'm a Master IT in Al-Tanbash University. I'm from Iraq. Paper title is Speaker Voice Recognition using a hybrid PSO and fuzzy logic system. The importance of security and the identification of people is growing in today's society, giving rise to several methods to meet this need. One way to meet this need is using biometrics to identify a person by their unique characteristics. The biometric measure an individual's physiological or behavioral characteristic to identify them as. The importance of security and the identification of people is growing in today's society, giving rise to several methods to meet this need. One way to meet this need is using biometrics to identify a person by their unique characteristics. In this work, we have designed and implemented a system whose main purpose is to detect the signals of the human voice and recognize the identity of the speaker. We implemented our scheme using machine learning techniques. where we extract the features of the speaker's audio file and then classify it into labels. Speaker recognition is commonly used in the field of verification or identification, but it can also be used in other branches such as classification, detection, segmentation, etc. The purpose of verification is to find out if the person speaking is really who they claim to be. The system must be prepared for possible attempt at detection. In the case of identification, the goal is to distinguish a person from a group of previously registered people. In this work, we have designed and implemented a system whose main purpose is to detect the signals of the human voice and recognize the identity of the speaker. We implemented our scheme using machine learning technique where we extract the features of the speaker's audio file and then classify it into labels. The recognition system has text-independent modalities or a variation between them. In the case of text-dependent modality, the person must speak a word or a set of words that were previously registered by the speaker in the system, so that it is done the acknowledgement. On the other hand, in the independent text modality, the system must identify the person who is speaking independently of what is being spoken. That is, the system learns exclusively the person's voice and not the combination of the voice and the text. B. Types of biometrics. Biometrics covers any type of measurement of physiological and or behavioral characteristics of the human body. It is usually associated with the recognition of people, as it is reliable and convenient for use. In the security area, the most important types of biometrics are those that can distinguish one individual from all others, such as fingerprint, iris, retina, face, voice, etc. It is inherent that biometrics are more reliable and more competent than technique that use a knowledge base. Speech recognition. Speaker recognition is a generic term used for any procedures that involves that recognition of a person's identity based on their voice. An important mention to make is the difference between speech recognition to speech recognition of a speaker. In speaker recognition, biometric characteristics are used to recognize an individual. In speech recognition, it is desired to recognize what is being spoken in audio. That only focus in the identification of words and numbers present in the audio. A. Verification. In a generic verification application, the person being verified first must identify. That is, the person's voice will be compared with the model for confirm. Authenticate that the person really is the individual of the past identity. The model is called the target speaker model. B. Identification. There are two different types of speaker identification, the closed set and open set. Together, the voice is compared to the registered speaker model and return the ID of the speaker who has the voice closest to the voice that was entered as input. That is regardless of the person who spoke. Even if he is not registered, a message will always be returned ID. The purpose of this work is to be an introductory to speaker recognition systems, showing the important aspects to build a system that use machine learning techniques to find patterns, describing available tools and providing simple code that may be used in future work. The speaker recognition system considers in this work will be based on verification application using the independent text mode. Speaker models will be generated using different machine learning algorithms. The PSO algorithm will be the most analyzed, as it has shown good performance in application of speaker verification in independent text scenarios. According to the literatures, at this point, the objective is to show the readers the advantage and limitations of the available tools. The tool we intended to use for the development of the system proposed in this work is the scikit-learn toolbox, available for Python. The scikit-learn, a free tool that enables the use of machine learning for non-specialists through the programming language of high level. Tables 3 to 6 summarize the performance results in each option for each bio-inspired algorithm, regardless of the fuzzy classification model. The results of the best optimized fuzzy classification model found by option in each algorithm are specified in tables 7 to 10. And the best option and model are determined based on their performance indicators. The best results per model are shown in table 11, with the bio-inspired algorithm and data set used to achieve each of its indicators. Table 12 shows the average results by number of inputs, and table 13 shows the average results of the models with a common input. Speaker recognition is the process of automatically determining who is speaking by using the information contained in the sound signal. Speaker recognition is divided into speaker verification and speaker identification. As a pattern recognition problem, speaker recognition is a more difficult application compared to other problems, as the sound signal change very frequently, not being stable over time, and is easily affected by factors such as ambient noise and weather conditions.
Thank you for presentation. Next presentation, dear Zahra, by video. 1 second.
A key-driven approach for the remote of things to come will be the boundless sending of 5G remote organization. The personalized quality of experience management utilizing data-driven architecture in 5G wireless network are gonna utilize radio in 5G and will be worked from exciting remote radio access advanced. For example, 5G and Wi-Fi joined with altogether new ones. Future remote framework are required to utilize more transmission capacity, all more effectively, and using special assorted varieties strategies in huge MIMO and beam forming. The idea of connecting an ever-increasing number of gadgets and internet in soiled entryway opener for more effective and efficient industry structure. Because of the improvement of new using cases, for example, machine correspondence and framework and MMTC, and as it's shown in the figure below, like smart cities, virtual reality, or augmented reality. The problem statement. The problem that many of the domain-neutral concepts faces that QoE worked with began with object-oriented design principles. The limited factors with the object is that in isolation, an object is not very interesting. Objects work together as a component become much more interesting. Component-oriented analysis and design quickly leads to a modern architecture approach from which is relatively easy to evolve into a service-oriented approach to analyze and design as mentioned in AT, the CO level. Middleware is essential. Platform services become an important enabler across the enterprise. An important approach to supporting SO, managing enterprise level integration and managing process gracefully, is developing and application dominate neutral meta model which provide an application resolvably service and responsibly service within a QoE for 5G implementation. The aim of the study. The aim of this paper is personalized quality of experience management using a data-driven architecture in 5G wireless network that consumes less resource. Focusing paper on addressing the problem that many organizations experience that introduce the enterprise architecture to support the integration of different services across the enterprise. The problem is that organizations do not know where they either have or may encounter weaknesses in their enterprise. Architecture with data-driven architecture DDA, the framework present in base of concepts from wireless network with driven architecture will be designed to support both TGA and CGA. Methodology. Quality of experience using data-driven architecture in 5G wireless network prediction is a complex task. There are a wide variety of ways to design and implement a QoE prediction model, depending on the domain, application types, goals, and types of data chosen for the prediction. The system consists to following components. First, wireless network simulation, output video quality evaluation, and machine learning models. First of all, 5G simulation. A simulation of 5G wireless network was created to gather the data necessary for predicting video quality of experience. However, it's important to point out that simulation is not only method to get the data necessary for QE prediction. Second of all, 5G simulation implement. The 5G simulation for this work was written in C++ using the MATLAB and the LENA 5G EPC model. Third, to use a QoE source as a label for machine learning models and compare their effectiveness, QoE can be evaluated subjectively and objectively. Fourth, to send a video over the network, it's first necessary to pick up the video. To send the video are in CIF. While CIF is not a maximum possible resolution for a mobile video, it's reasonable enough and commonly to use the mobile video evaluation. A higher resolution would negatively affect impact in the simulation execution time as well as the QoE evaluation time, which would have a 5G in a much smaller dataset. Machine learning algorithms are powerful tools to create prediction models for popular supervised learning algorithms that are used to nonlinear mapping. Problem were chosen. Here in this figure, a linear SVM. Here a random forest with a 2 estimators performance, and here a feed-forward neural network. The 4 machine learning algorithms picked for this work were support vector machine, a random forest, gradient posted tree, and a neural network. The first 3 models were implemented using a MATLAB. The SVM implementation, the support vector regression model, was used with a RPF kernel. The model was trained on the training data set and then tested. All the 4 models created for this work performed reasonably well on the task of quality of experience prediction and showed a high degree of accuracy. Here in this figure, it shows the percentage of accuracy compression of the 4 ML models. And here, every model shows his percentage. Here in this figure, the RMSE scores are shown. And here in this figure, it shows the relationship between the number of training samples and RMSE. In general, neural network and SVM required a larger training dataset and more accurate prediction. The results present are promising and do indicate the machine learning techniques can be used for QoE prediction. There is no clear winner among the machine learning algorithm. Thus, however, random forest and gradient posted trees have a lowest RMSE values. Overall, machine learning algorithms were successfully applied for QoE prediction. It was discovered and supports vector machines are the least used for the 4 of QoE prediction, and the random forest and gradient post trees achieve the lowest RMSE score. In this work, the machine learning algorithms were used to create models that predict QoE with a network. QoS parameters include a wireless specific and 5G specific parameters. The research methodology used a paper in design science research for the QoE management based on a 5G network, the QoE for implementation of a 5G generation network, and apply it in many different real-world organizations. Conclusion. In this work, an approach was developed that used the network quality of services parameters for personalized quality of experience management using a data-driven architecture in 5G wireless network with a machine learning algorithm, support vectors machine, a random forest, a gradient posted tree, and a feed-forward neural network. After evaluation results of these models, it was discovered that all but support vector machines perform adequately and achieve relatively low error. Future work. It might be of interest to extend the simulation of TCP video streaming, since the quality of experience of TCP and UPD video is affected differently, and a lot of modern mobile videos TCP based. The model present in the work would benefit from the subjective QoE scores, and a reasonable size data set of QoE scores would allow for a proper model accuracy verification. Thank you so much.
Thank you for presentation. All presentation in this session have been completed. Thanks for participating. The next session will start at 3:30. See you.